Hello, fellow pen lovers and stationery enthusiasts. It's Christy here, Snarky Wordsworth over on Instagram and Reddit. And today I have a pen unboxing for you. This is supposed to be a low buy year, and I'm doing okay so far. But when this popped up on the Esterbrook site, I could not resist. You already read the title for this video, so you know what's inside this box. But let me preface everything by saying I'd actually been looking for this particular colorway in the used market for ages and ages. I just wasn't able to really find any of them in a price point that I was willing to pay. And then when it popped up under re-release, at least for a limited time, I was like, I don't care that this was not on my wish list as far as like definitive, I'm getting it this year pens, I'm getting it. So I've just been sort of like stalking my text messages this morning to see, to get confirmation of when this would land. And here it is. And I'm super excited. I'm also going to apologize for the light. I'm definitely going to lose light before the end of this video. So you'll probably see some color shifts going on. Again, I really apologize, but I want to be able to open this and play with the pen. So here we go. Oh, also, I'm a little bit confused by the size of this because, yeah, I'm just confused. Okay. Oh, okay. So I did not expect this. This is one of their like bundle kits, and I did not know this was coming in a bundle kit, and I'm very happy about that. I did not need one. I would have purchased this regardless, but happy to have one. So let's go ahead. It's so beautiful. Okay, so this is just the little warranty card that they always offer up. You just go online and you scan the code and you register your pen. And then I decided to get the Scribe nib. I really fell in love with the Architect nib I have on my one Kaweco that Kirkspear did for me. And I know that the Scribe is sort of a modified Architect. And I love my journaler so much that I wanted to check out this particular nib just because the specialty nibs are just very intriguing to me. So I'm excited to try this. Okay, so I guess these must be cartridges, right? Yes. So it comes with 5 cartridges. What color are you? Black ink, which I will probably use at some point. Not in this pen, though. Oh, so I've been wanting to try the paper in these little pocket journals. I don't know what paper Esterbrook uses, but I would assume it's going to be fountain pen friendly. So the little bundle comes with 3. Oh, and they're all colors I like. Okay, so it has an olive, a sort of charcoal gray, and like a slate gray. And this is nice paper. They are in, it looks like 5mm dot grid. Is this like field note size, I want to say? This is pocket size, right? But very nice. And is this the little canvas, pen holder, I want to say? I know this because I was looking at the Aqua bundle when it first came up, and then I was like, you know, I don't need the Aqua pen, I'm going to be good. And then the next week happened, and I was like, never mind, not so good. Ooh, I like this color. So their sort of neutral beige is what comes with this one. And it's the Esterbrook. Ooh, so I did not know. It's got like the Esterbrook logo and kind of like a unusual, it feels like some kind of silicone-y rubberized thing. I like it. I just don't know what purpose it serves, but it's nice. And then, so it's this lovely neutral beige on the outside with, I want to say, kind of a, not a navy, but like a blue toned stitching. And then inside is some lovely sort of like felty blue. So that's lovely. And here, this is it. Oh, it's so beautiful. Seriously, I have been trying to get my hands on a Lilac Esterbrook Estie for months and months. And one, it's just, I just had a really hard time finding any at all. And then I was just, they were at a price point that I was not interested in paying for used pen. I get really anxious about buying used pens that like I don't get a chance to sort of test out. Like it's one thing to buy used from a pen show where you can play with the pen, but it's another just to be like, oh, okay, I trust you on the internet. So it does have the gold plating on it. It is just a steel nib, but you can see, look at that. I am so excited to write with this. But just in general, it's so beautiful. It really, really is. I love this color of purple as far as inks go. I have so many purple inks that will go so perfectly with this. And I'm definitely a gold hardware girl anyway. So definitely pleased to have a gold hardware lilac. And yeah, it's just, if you've not played around with Estie pens before, they're just so comfortable, at least for me. Like I love the way the Esterbrook Estie feels in my hands. Like I have the exclusive cola that they did a while back, and I write with it constantly. I mean, constantly. It's almost never not inked, and I definitely can foresee that being a similar situation with this, especially since I love purples. But yeah, so give me a second. I am going to go grab some stats for you. We'll talk about that, do some pen comparisons, and I will be back in just a moment. Okay? Okay, I am back. I have filled this lovely, lovely Esterbrook Estie lilac up with some ink, and I've got specs for you. We're going to do a bit of a size comparison, and then we're going to get to the writing sample. But first, let's get just like a very quick look at just how gorgeous this pen is. Purple is one of my absolute favorite colors, and I am definitely more of a gold trim girl rather than a silver, and I think that the two play really beautifully off of one another. Just like your standard Estie, there is no, finial or anything as far as like separate pieces. It's all just the one classic cigar shaped pen. You don't have a visible, okay, that's blurry. There we go. You don't have a visible band on the outside. All you have is the Esterbrook in gold right there. But when you open the pen, that's when you see the little gold bands. And then I have this in that super custom Scribe nib that's like a modified architect. You can see how lovely that is. But then on the nib itself, it does have the Esterbrook logo, and I don't know if it's going to pick up, but it does say Scribe right on there, which is interesting because my journaler does not have journaler on there, and I know that some journaler nibs do, so I think it just depends on when you ordered them. In any case, I do love that touch. I think it's super cool. And you can't tell, I do have a lilac colored ink in there. We'll talk about more about that in a little bit. But yes, so here it is. And just look at that resin. I just love the Esterbrook resins and the way that they just sort of shine and just catch the light. I just think that's so beautiful. Anyway, so that is the basic look of the pen. There's not an enormous amount to it. It's just the way that it feels. For me anyway, I love the way that my hand feels when I'm writing with an Esterbrook Estie. It's like, as far as size goes, it's one of my larger pens, but it doesn't feel uncomfortable to write with. And that's got to do with, I would imagine, the weight and the size of the grip and just a myriad other things. But I love writing with these pens. Okay, onward to the actual specs. Now, closed, this guy is 149.1 millimeters long. If you post, it's about 170.3 millimeters. And that puts it for me as one of my largest pens. Now, again, I have small hands. I prefer slightly smaller pens, but even with my preferences, it does not feel oversized. It really does feel like a very, very nice weight and just a really comfortable instrument to write with for long periods of time. These are kind of my go-to long letter writers. So the grip, which is what for me makes this pen, is about 10.8 millimeters in diameter. For me, it's absolutely perfect. I don't know if you have a larger hand or if you prefer larger pens if it's too narrow, but for me, it's absolutely perfect. And then the weight of this is 24 grams. So not a particularly hefty pen, but it's not weightless either. It's just kind of great. This is a cartridge converter, of course. It comes with a steel nib, and I have mine with that specialty grind. Like I said, I got the Scribe nib, which I'm super excited about. So the Scribe nib is done by a New York-based nibmeister named Josh Lax, and it is, as I mentioned, his take on the Architect nib. Now, I fell in love with Architect nibs after I got my first one custom ground by Kirk Spear over at Pen Realm. And from what I understand, in general, Architect nibs are kind of persnickety in that they have a very narrow sweet spot, and that has certainly been my experience. I worked with Kirk in person at a pen show, so he was able to grind the nib to a perfect spot for me in the way that I write, like the angle of my hand and everything. So I was very curious as to how you would kind of make essentially an Architect nib for the mass market. Like, I mean, the sweet spot really is quite narrow and it depends on person to person. So how does that translate to mass market? And somehow Lax has managed to do that. It's really odd, but I can sort of twist my wrist or turn the nib a bit more than I would normally, and it still writes really beautifully. I still see a lot of variation, and it doesn't get that scratchy isn't the right word, but almost resistance. It gets to the point with a standard Architect where it feels like if you turn your hand just a little bit, or if your angle is a little bit off from what it normally is, that it kind of has almost a drag to it. And that is not something I have yet to come across with the Lilac here. I just, like I said, I'm very curious. If you happen to be someone who is really familiar with nibs and you want to explain how that works as far as how to make an Architect that will work for a lot of people in a lot of hand positions, I'm super curious. So please do put that in the comments. Anyway, like I said, this Scribe nib is very forgiving. I tried different angles. I tried like positioning my hand in ways that I normally wouldn't, and it still wrote pretty comfortably. And I do have a long writing sample for you in addition to like the standard writing sample that I usually do here. But yeah, I am so far really, really loving this pen. Okay, I just wanted to do a quick little size comparison with the Estie and some of my other favorite pens. And you can see lengthwise, it falls in the larger end of the spectrum. If you follow this channel for any length of time, you know that the Benu Euphoria is pretty much the biggest pen that I own and that I enjoy writing with. They're not too different lengthwise, but I will say that the Euphoria is a little bit girthier of a pen. Not anything uncomfortable, but definitely if you are feeling that the Euphoria is kind of a narrow grip for you. I don't know how that will translate with the Estie, but I will say that the Estie is a little bit narrower than the Euphoria. Lengthwise, you can see how we kind of slope downward here. Vanishing points are a tiny, tiny bit shorter when they're not deployed. The Lamy 2000 is about the same size as the Vanishing Point, so you can see it's a tiny bit shorter than the Estie, and it just continues to go down. This is the Platinum 3776, the Pelican M400, the Sailor Pro Gear Slim, TWSBI Diamond Mini, Pilot E95S, and of course the Kaweco Brass Sport. So obviously, there is a massive amount of difference when we are looking at pocket pens, but let's see how they size up when they are uncapped and set up to be written with. Okay, so here you can see how they stack up next to one another when they are posted. So this was the original size comparison from when they were all closed. I don't know too many people who write with the Euphoria when it's posted. I happen to really enjoy posting pens, but I will say that it does get a little tiny bit unwieldy. It's not uncomfortable, but like it's a very long pen if you post the Euphoria. And I would say that the same goes with the Esterbrook. The thing with the Esterbrook and posting is because of the kind of sort of pressure cap that the Esterbrook has, I always get nervous about posting it. So I don't usually write with mine posted unless I'm in a very carpeted, safe area, just because I'm always a little bit anxious that it's going to pop because of that sort of cushion cap. But that is the length if you write with this guy posted. Vanishing point, of course, really the only difference is the length of the nib. Then we've got the Lamy 2000, the Platinum 3776, the Pelican M400, the Sailor Pro Gear Slim, the TWSBI Diamond Mini, the Pilot E95S, and then the Kaweco Sport. So really, Kaweco Sport, once you post it, is really the smallest pen, then followed by the Vanishing Point, the TWSBI, the Sailor, the Pelican. And if you look, it's pretty much neck and neck between the Platinum and the E95S. I love the E95S. I have videos about how much I adore this pen. Super comfortable to write with. But you can see when it's posted, it does add quite a bit of length to it. And just so that you can see how long these pens are if they're not posted. So suddenly you see they become a much more reasonable length. So the Estie is really pretty much the same size as the Kaweco Sport when it is not posted. So definitely take that into consideration. Like I said, think about that pressure cap and then the potential qualms with that and posting. And if you like the size of the Kaweco Sport, I love the Kaweco Sport size, so this doesn't actually bother me at all. But yeah, so if you're looking at posting or not posting, this is where you would end up. Okay, so as I have mentioned, I have really enjoyed writing with this Esterbrook Estie. It's just been delightfully fun. I'd gotten out of writing in all caps quite a few years ago, and I'd just been writing in script primarily, and so kind of going back to that all caps style has been a lot of fun, especially after finding architect nibs and variants like this Scribe. So yeah, it's just been a really, really fun way to start writing again. So let's go ahead and get to the writing sample, and you can see a little bit what this nib can do. And I did ink this up with Pannonia's Tihani Lila. I hope that I am not utterly butchering that. I probably am. Apologies. But it's a gorgeous, gorgeous purple. I've been wanting to use it for ages, and I just haven't found a pen that was perfect in until now, and it is the best combo. Okay, let's give you a slightly closer look. You can see how cool those lines are. It really shows off the shading so well. It's really, really a gorgeous, gorgeous ink one, but it looks fantastic in this kind of nib. You can see the thin downstrokes and then the broad horizontal lines. And then I did 2 of my Sphinx of Black Quartz Judge My Vow in both the all caps and then in cursive. It certainly works perfectly well in cursive. It's quite fun to write with regardless, but I do think it really, really does shine in that all caps option. It just, I don't know, there's something about the way the letters look that I just think is just absolutely beautiful. And then I also had another bit of a writing sample that I've got in my traveler's notebook, and let me zoom out just a touch. Okay, so here we have an example of a more standard architect nib, and then here is the Scribe nib. If you zoom in a little bit, you can see there's definitely more variation in the line with your traditional architect, but this architect nib is definitely more persnickety, and it's been ground specifically to my hand, whereas this one is just that mainstream Scribe nib and works in tons of different positionings, and it still has every bit as much character. There's slightly less variation, but it still results in a beautiful, beautiful line across the page. Plenty of variation to make it super interesting to look at and to write with. And then look at all of that shading that shows up, despite the fact that it's slightly less variation than within the traditional architect nib. So I just wanted to sort of show you like a comparison. And this was ground from a bold nib, which I guess according to a number of the sites that I'd visited is sort of like what a lot of more standard architect nibs are initially ground from. And I have no idea what the case is with the Scribe, but I really do love this nib so much. But you can see both provide really, really interesting writing results. It's not that one is better than the other. It's just they are different. And I do find that this Scribe is a really great way to dive in, especially if you don't get to work with someone and have all of that specificity into having a custom ground nib done yourself. So just to make that part clear. All right, so that was the Esterbrook Estie in Lilac. I still absolutely am in love with this pen, and I'm so glad that I have it in my collection now. This is the perfect colorway for me. It just makes me smile to look at it. I really am enjoying the Scribe nib. If you are curious about architect nibs and have not had a chance to try one, I definitely think this is a good way to dive in, specifically because it seems to be so much more user-friendly than an architect nib can be. And it's just a really fun way to write. I've been just having such a great time with it. If this video was at all interesting, useful, entertaining, whatever, please do consider hitting that like button or potentially even subscribing it to the channel. If you have any questions about the nib, the pen, any of the other pens, how the writing experience has been, please feel free to pop those in the comments. If you just want to strike up a conversation about Esterbrook Esties, which I love, definitely do that. I love very little more than I love talking about pens and inks and all of that. So generally, just feel free to reach out. I'm loads of fun, I promise. And so with that, I'm going to go ahead and sign off on this episode. As always, thank you so much for spending so much time with me. I know this has been quite a chatty video about my love for Esterbrook Esties. So thanks for sticking with me. If you happen to have made it all the way to the end of this video, you are fantastic and wonderful and all the good things. So once again, thanks for joining me, and hopefully I will see you next time.